Greetings and welcome. I am JustaVOR, bringing you what I hope is constructive information on what the system of white supremacy, racism, is and how it works, as well as what can be done to replace it with a system of justice. The Jackson, Mississippi Takeover, White Minority Resistance. In this video, we explore how people who classify themselves as white use their white power to overrule their minority status. We will look, within the context of the global system of white supremacy, at the recent passing of Bill 1020 in the Mississippi State House of Representatives, a bill also known as the Capital Complex Improvement District Bill, or CCID, which is deemed to be a racist strategy to overrule the laws and codes of the over 80% black city of Jackson, Mississippi by taking resources from the city to create a separate governing system for Jackson's Capital Complex Improvement District, which houses the majority of the city's white residents. We will look at how white resistance takes form in a strategy referred to in the code book as racial population dislocation confusion, and how it plays a role in what is and has been happening in Jackson, Mississippi. Before beginning, I think it would be best to provide the definition we use for the interchangeable terms racism and white supremacy, which is a global system of people who classify themselves as white and who are dedicated to the mistreatment and subjugation of all those they have classified as not white. If you have been keeping up with the recent news in Jackson, Mississippi, you know that Jackson has been in a long ongoing water crisis. In January 2023, it was reported that the damaging effects of the water crisis on Jackson's residents, approximately 83% of whom are classified as black, would last for at least the next 10 years to come. In our recent video entitled, How Racism Impacts the Jackson Water Crisis, Racial Population Dislocation Confusion, we explored the racist history behind Jackson's water crisis, as well as racist strategies being used against the people of Jackson and Mississippi to maintain the system of white supremacy. I encourage you to watch that video. I have included a link below. Since the election of its first black mayor, Harvey Johnson Jr., in 1997, the white residents of the city of Jackson, Mississippi's capital city, have had to reckon with their somewhat sudden minority status in Jackson and Hinds County. What we have seen as a result is a tug of war of sorts for the capital city of the state of Mississippi. In 1980, Jackson, named after the 7th U.S. president and white supremacist race soldier Andrew Jackson, reached its peak population of 202,000. During the 1990s, as the black population had increased enough to influence the outcome of local elections, symbolized by their election of their first black mayor, white residents responded with the racist strategy of white flight, as over 62,000 white residents fled Jackson and Hinds County to move to cities and towns in neighboring counties. In modern-day takeovers of U.S. cities, within the enveloping strategy of racial population dislocation confusion, white flight is a strategy used to deprive those places with growing populations of non-white people of the tax dollars and other resources white residents possess and control. In Jackson, white residents fled and took their tax dollars with them, resulting in quickly lowering the population of the city. With this lower population, the state of Mississippi, still majority white, appears justified in supplying Jackson with less state funding to maintain the city. The result of this economic deprivation is seen in the issues that Jackson has had not only with this water crisis, which has been going on for years, but with the issues the city has faced in terms of dilapidation of their infrastructure, such as buildings and roadways, as well as trash collection. Another issue has been the rise of crime. Crime in the United States concept is most often tied to income levels and the poverty rate in a particular area. As Mississippi has the highest poverty rate of all U.S. states at 19%, and Jackson's poverty rate is around 25%, over double the national average. It would be logical to expect the crime rate to increase as the economic conditions of the city worsen. With the conditions in the city worsening, black victims of racism are enticed to leave the city for a better plantation. As the non-white residents leave the area, the next strategy of the suspected racists is gentrification, where white people move back to the city with their tax dollars to improve those areas black people were forced to neglect due to the shortage of needed resources. The overall infrastructure is now being improved as the resources needed are again being provided. Buildings and roadways are improved. New homes and shopping centers are built. The property value in areas began to rise to the point that even those black people who stuck it out and remained on the plantation can no longer afford to live there. Thus, they are pushed out, and those people practicing white supremacy have once again reclaimed the area for themselves. What is interesting is how the passing of Bill 1020 on Tuesday, February 7, 2023, in the state's House of Representatives plays a part in this strategy. The bill, introduced by Representative Trey Lamar, suspected racist, creates a separate governing system for Jackson CCID, its Capital Complex Improvement District, which includes most of the city's downtown area and houses most of the city's white residents. The bill cancels out any authority city officials such as judges, prosecutors, law enforcement officials, etc. currently have over the area by replacing them with newly appointed city officials. Mind you, the majority of the current city officials are classified as black. The goal here appears to be replacing those black officials with white officials. What effect will this have on the average black resident of Jackson? Does this move by the majority white state officials undermine the state constitution as well as the alleged rights of the people to choose for themselves who and how they are represented in the government? Is the passing of this bill an act to maintain the system of white supremacy? Mayor Chokwe Lumumba seems to think so.
Everything that I see, everything that Mississippi is known for, they have proven that they are who we thought they were. When we talked about the fact that they were making an effort to take over resources in Jackson, we talked about that they just wanted to seize the city. What we just saw was some of the most oppressive legislation that we have seen in our city's history. It's oppressive because it strips the right of black folks to vote. It's oppressive because it puts a military force over people that has no accountability to them. It's oppressive because there will be judges who will determine sentences over people's lives. It's oppressive because it redirects their tax dollars to something that they don't endorse nor believe in.
And we are talking about the state of Mississippi, one of the most notorious havens for overt white supremacists. For those who say that the bill is focused solely on improving the economic state of the city, well, not the entire city, just the CCID, as well as lowering the crime rate, why does the bill also include replacing civil court officials? What do lawsuits have to do with improving the crime rate? But as Mayor Lumumba has already stated,
they just wanted to seize the city.
The codified term for this behavior is racial population dislocation confusion. According to the code, racial population dislocation confusion is a codified term used when the white supremacists keep victims of racism on the move from place to place. This usually happens while white supremacists take unjust advantage of various calamities, disasters, and other hardships non-white people experience. The Jackson water crisis is just one example of calamity, disaster, or hardship that non-white people are experiencing in Jackson. The way to counter racial population dislocation confusion, as suggested by the code, includes being prepared in advance to move completely and swiftly with planned efficiency. Another interesting piece of evidence that suspected racists are using the strategy of racial population dislocation confusion is that there are active attempts to pass a bill to create special elections to replace mayors in Mississippi, with many suspecting that the real target of this bill is Jackson's Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, the son of former Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, a former vice president of the Republic of New Africa. It is worth noting that this bill to replace mayors in Mississippi failed to pass the state's House of Representatives on Thursday, February 9, 2023, with a vote of 60 to 53. That's a rather close margin. I suspect that this will not be the end of the attempt to unseat black mayors, particularly Jackson's Mayor Lumumba. Have you noticed how these attempts are being made during the month of February? Happy Black History Month, right? What are your thoughts on how the system of racism, white supremacy, is impacting the lives of those non-white people, especially those classified as black in the city of Jackson, as well as the state of Mississippi? Will those who classify themselves as white voluntarily give up their power? What other ways are suspected white supremacists using the strategy of racial population dislocation confusion to take over the city of Jackson, as well as other places non-white people have been allowed to reside? Feel free to leave your questions, comments, and concerns. For more information about the purpose and goals of this channel, as well as some basic definitions of words and terms we use in reference to our work, I have included a link below to a video containing this information. If you would like an even better understanding of the code and how it works, please visit ProduceJustice.com to order the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. There are many constructive suggestions for ending the system of white supremacy, and Mr. Fuller's code book and his word guide act as guides to getting and keeping on code. If you feel this content is constructive and worth your time and energy, please subscribe and share to support the making of more content in the future. Much appreciation for all the VORs already subscribed. I am JustaVOR, and I am still learning. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Let me say something that gets to the very crux of the matter, and this may be offensive for some to hear who are not on the side that we're on. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
Say that again.
Let me say it one more time for those of you who didn't hear me. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.